Charizard, Thunder Punch. The fire lizard's fist crackled with lightning and collided with the rampaging Gyarados, knocking it out. The Charizard's trainer threw out an Ultra Ball, trapping the serpent inside. The Gyarados was caught. The trainer turned to a fisherman. Pay up. Now. Alright. He got out the equivalent of 50,000 Poké Dollars in pearls, big pearls, stardust, and star pieces, and gave it to the trainer. Charizard, get us out of here, he called. The fire dragon picked up its trainer and flew out of sight. Let's see if this Gyarados is as furious as that angler said it was, the trainer said. He checked, and the Gyarados was level 43, and knew many strong attacks. He put it in his bag and continued off. Our protagonist is simply named Blake. He's good at his job, if you're talking to his clients. If you talk to all the enemies he's made, they have a very low opinion of him. He currently lives in Johto, just south of Mahogany Town. As he got to his house, his poking gear started ringing. Who is this? Blake asked.
Hello? Is this Blake, the mercenary?
Yes. If you're looking for my service, I warn you, it isn't cheap.
Oh dear. How much do you want?
It depends. What's your task?
Well, Halloween is coming, and I fear that the radio tower in Lavender Town will be attacked. I need you to come to Lavender Town and stay the night, just in case.
That'll be a lot, Blake said, considering I despise that tower and the corporate idiots who built it.
Please, Mr. Fuji begged. I've been having nightmares about it for the whole month. They're so awful that I've been afraid to go to sleep. Please!
Fine. But if you don't pay, you know what's coming. Blake was known for outright opposing the construction of the radio tower. He never used his radio card in Kanto, and was known for having his Charizard burn down radio ads. Get ready, Charizard. We're flying to Lavender Town, he said in his commanding voice. His Charizard roared. Blake got his bag, filled with medicine, many Pokemon, a town map, and a necklace of Charizard teeth. Jumping on Charizard, he flew off. Catch! Blake said in mid-flight, throwing many berries into the air. His Charizard responded by flying in a loop, catching the berries in its mouth and eating. Blake was a harsh trainer. Here comes that chunk of heap of a tower, Blake said. It was night already. Just one night from Halloween. According to Blake, what Blake remembered, the Pokemon house where Mr. Fuji lived was just south of the damned radio tower. I remember when I adventured through Kanto, Blake said. Heck, I would have all aid if Giovanni wasn't missing all the time. I might have gotten the Earth badge. Blake, making his normal entrance, jumped off his trusty Charizard.
Oh, good, you're here,
he heard a voice say. Blake looked at the floor and met eye to eye with an old man followed by a Marowak. You must be Mr. Fuji, Blake said. You know how my business works. You better pay up, attack or no attack. Mr. Fuji knew he would likely be bankrupt, but he was more concerned about the safety of the inhabitants of Lavender Town. Blake knew this, as his ability to catch facial cues was unmatched. He would get his payment one way or another. I'll find a hotel, and tomorrow night I'll stand watch, Blake said, turning back. And nice Marowak. Blake's Charizard caught the bone club of the Marowak with its hand and threw it away before flying off. Halloween in Kanto was not too indifferent from ours. Candy, crazy parties, egging of houses. Now, you also have the frequent Pokemon battle. However, not many people stay in Lavender Town around Halloween.
It's 5 and nothing yet, Mr. Fuji said worryingly.
I don't see why you're so worried, Blake said. The sun hasn't even set. As Blake watched the buildings around, he saw many children in costumes and many Pokemon alongside them. The next was our uneventful, and it wasn't until the sun went down that things got scary. It started when it got dark, unnaturally dark. There were no clouds, and you could see the stars if it wasn't for the radio tower, but it got very dark, and the only light was from the hated radio tower.
I have a really bad feeling right now,
Mr. Fuji said. Crack. What was that? Blake said. He and his Charizard were focused on the noise. A haunting voice said.
It came from inside,
Mr. Fuji said. The four ran inside to see hundreds upon hundreds of Ghastly inside the House of Memories. Each was flying inside one of the many tombstones. Out of every grave was crawling a rotting or skeletal Pokemon, from Psyduck to Arbok to Furret to Sneasel. Along with that came the horrible stench of thousands of rotting corpses. Go, Skarmory! Blake yelled, sending out the magnificent Steel Bird. Along with Charizard and Marowak, they started cutting down zombie after zombie. Get away, Mr. Fuji! Blake commanded without taking his eyes off the battle.
Take Marowak with you,
Mr. Fuji said, running away as fast as he could. From here on, the story will be in Blake's perspective. I ordered a flamethrower on Charizard and a stealth rock from Skarmory. Marowak thought on his own accord, slicing the zombies in half with his bone. They just kept coming, and the rotting gore was making me want to vomit. Within minutes, the House of Memories was torn down by continuous flamethrowers and attacks launched by the undead horde. Soon the ground was littered with bones, gore, corpses, and Ghastly. The air was near unbreathable from all the gas. The horde was unconcerned with me once the tower came into view. To buy themselves time, they ganged up on my Skarmory. Air Cutter, I ordered, having Charizard back it up with acrobatics. But Skarmory was eventually tackled, and its wings torn out by the horde. Even as the reanimated corpses became dead again, if they hadn't fainted, the Ghastly could just leave their body. After maiming my poor Skarmory, the undead army marched towards the tower. Stupid bird, I muttered in rage as I withdrew Skarmory. If it hadn't been so weak, it might not have had to wait for its great wings to grow back. I didn't care. I have an army of Pokemon just as strong and fast as Skarmory. Go, Jolteon, I said. Out came my Jolteon. His speed and his Shadow Ball attack would prove useful. It better. I raised this one with every bit of effort I could. Getting to the tower was both nauseating and sanity draining. The horde had attacked and brutally killed everyone in this fashion prospectively, ripping out his spine, burning her to death, slitting his throat, decapitation, mutilation, and many, many others. Marowak, Jolteon, and Charizard were as alert as me. We expected to see a very bloody mess at the reception floor of the tower, and we were right. It was a scene straight from a horror movie. It's the horde. Aw, crud, I said. The horde of zombie Pokemon and Ghastly looked right at me. Jolteon, Shadow Ball, Charizard, Flamethrower, Marowak, Bone Meringue. The attacks collided with the zombie horde. While the zombies were destroyed, the Ghastly inside just abandoned their bodies. Jolteon was forced to attack the Ghastly, while Charizard and Marowak started chopping down the horde. The horde was not showing any sign of giving up. I also had no way of taking on the ghost types with Marowak. Jolteon was also losing its ability to use Shadow Ball. Instead, I ordered a Shockwave. This was a mistake, as a group of Cubone blocked the attack. Jolteon, Pin Missile! Jolteon was beaten down by numerous bone clubs before my command could reach him. This was bad. I retrieved Jolteon and sent out the Gyarados I had recently caught. It roared in fury. Hydro Pump, I ordered. My strict command was followed by Gyarados tearing through the Cubone and the horde. However, the horde retaliated by striking with electrical attacks. No! I exclaimed. Earthquake! Gyarados slammed his tail into the ground, causing a tremor. The undead army before me just dodged by having their troops being airlifted. In short, it was a waste of an attack. Hydro Pump, I ordered. Gyarados blasted the extreme water pressure out of its mouth, wrecking through more and more zombies, but to no avail. They just kept coming. Eventually, they started to overpower Gyarados. Then it hit me. Charizard, Gyarados, Fire Blast! Remember how I said that the air was full of noxious fumes? Well, now it was full of rampaging fire. This took out Gyarados and a big chunk of the horde. Retrieving my burnt black Gyarados, I decided to pursue the horde higher up to the tower. I had to think. What else did I have? I had a whole backpack full of Pokeballs, but only 2 more were as strong as the others I sent out. Weevil, my loyal hunter, and my Rhyperior. If they fainted, it would be me and Charizard versus hundreds of Ghastly. That would be bad, because Marowak couldn't do crud against the Ghastly family. The next floor was made up of piles of gore and bone. I straight up vomited, with a hint of even blood. Charizard burned it with Flamethrower, as to not attract attention through smell. As the tower was made of anti-fire spread material, it wouldn't do any harm lighting stuff on fire. I don't want to assault your mind with what I saw, but compared to an R-rated slasher movie, there were no survivors. Up on the 3rd floor was my Charizard and Weevil slashing at zombie after zombie. More and more dead bodies littered the floor, both human and Pokemon. I finally noticed what the horde intended. They were taking what little time they had before I attacked to attempt to tear apart the tower, but they wouldn't manage at this rate, as the walls showed barely any damage, despite the army of Cubone using Bone Club on the walls. Ice Shard, I ordered, watching as Cubone and zombies sacrificed themselves to continue the plans of the horde. Any Ghastly that had attacked fell to Weevil's or Marowak's outrage. Charizard took on the role of heavy-hitting any stubborn zombies. I was starting to worry that Charizard was losing too much power points. So, as soon as the horde was cleared from this floor, I used a max ether on it. The 4th floor was worse than the 3rd. The horde wasted no time desiccating anyone there. Marowak cut down any opposing zombies from a distance with Bone Meringue. Weevil, however, was having some problems. The horde was getting even smarter. Without Charizard backing up Weevil, my Dark and Ice type would have fainted, and I would have been in Snorlax-sized trouble. Dear God, this is awful. I nearly vomited again. The floor was an ocean of gore. I couldn't make it across the swamp of rotting flesh, bones, and blood. I had Charizard fly us across. 5th floor. I was no longer up against Ghastly, but now Haunters. I was not in good shape, because Marowak couldn't hurt Haunters with stab moves, and Weevil was being assaulted by continuous nightshades. Quick! Night Slash! I yelled as loud as possible into the melee. To my horror, Weevil was confused. This meant there was a 50-50 chance it would hurt itself, and subsequently got destroyed by the horde. Unfortunately for me, 50% equals 100%. I watched as Weevil cut itself open with its own attack. Oh, God, no! I yelled, retrieving Weevil, while ordering that Charizard scorch the horde with Flamethrower. I sent out Rhyperior. I was slightly worried, seeing as Rhyperior was not my most obedient Pokemon. Despite my strict orders, I got it as a gift from helping a hunter track down and destroy a massive Steelix, which even I failed to capture. His rock wrecker tore down anything short of high defense fighting, ground or steel type. I had the right badges, yet it would tend to fight with its own mind. Much like Charizard, despite Charizard doing whatever I said if it was fighting on its own. Rhyperior would do time to time continue to fight without my command. Also, its former trainer nicknamed Obsidian, and that could be hard to remember. Obsidian, use Surf! The battlefield was swamped, washing away the gore, blood, and corpses. I basically started to pull all the stops at this point, and at the 6th floor, I ordered my Charizard and Obsidian to rip the opposing army apart with Stone Edge and Flamethrower. With Marowak using Outrage, easier said than done. As the horde had the same idea, the battlefield was nearly ripped apart by attack after attack, and the horde was still massively outnumbering us. And I was forced to watch a zombified Slowbro use Surf on us, nearly knocking us out. Thunder Punch! I demanded. Slowbro fell like an anvil. I was going to end this now. Charizard, Airlift Marowak, Rhyperior, Earthquake! Now you may be thinking, the horde would just abandon the zombies' bodies and become haunters. Exactly. I was counting on that. Each zombie became a haunter once more, and this meant Earthquake did nothing. Now, Flamethrower and Rock Wrecker! The Horde had no time to react, and every single ghost hit the floor. This meant that the Horde had nowhere left to run, as there was one more floor. Charizard, burn this mess with Flamethrower, I ordered. The floor was ablaze with flames, as I had planned. Mr. Fuji owed me a lot of Poké Dollars. Whatever was on the next floor was going down in flames. I gave the 3 Pokemon with me healing items, and advanced to the next floor. On the 7th and final floor, I expected to see one of 3 things. Any surviving zombies, nothing, or some evil trainer or some ghost Pokemon who organized this. I was right. What I saw standing across the floor was a Gengar, staring right at me with its red eyes. In the ghost's right hand was what looked like whoever ran the tower. I had noticed that the rooms were like offices, but the Horde had made that hard to recognize. The poor man looked terrified, and I instantly knew why he was spared. The Gengar possessed the man, and used him to communicate with me.
So, you finally made it, the Gengar said. You're a Pokemon trainer. Why do you help these lowlives? They disturb the graves of thousands of Pokemon just for money. They could have placed a tower anywhere, but they chose here to save money. Why? Why did you help them?
I'm just doing my job, I replied. I'm getting paid to risk my neck and take you down.
You disgrace,
the Gengar replied.
You're just as low as these filthy humans who built this tower.
That's actually pretty funny coming from someone who organized the slaughter of dozens of innocent people for revenge, I argued back. The remark angered the ghost. He threw the man to the side, still partially possessing him.
That's it, he screamed. It just turns out that I happen to have a few secret weapons up my sleeve.
He turned over to Marowak.
You are a shame to all Pokemon. Humans killed your mother, yet you still side with them.
Marowak replied, with his bone in slashing position.
Ridiculous,
Gengar replied in rage, which surprised me.
All humans are the same. They kill and destroy with no thought about the consequences. They built this tower. They pollute the land with that infernal power plant up north, and when it finally became a home for Pokemon, they destroy that and use it to power this infernal stack of metal.
Then he turned to me.
And you? Is your name Blake? If so, you oppose this tower far more than you claim to. I can tell. Because when I was in the House of Memories searching for powerful Pokemon to aid in this tower's destruction, I found this gravestone.
He pulled out a gravestone, and it read something. I realized how he knew my name. The gravestone said, "Here lies Blake's Heracross, ID 06215, died from sickness, a valuable friend." I hope you're okay, Heracross. I came as soon as I heard the tower was being torn down. I came to you, to tell you I miss you. If you're here now, I want you to know Charizard and the others are doing fine. I know deep down that no matter what happens, Pokemon Tower will cease to exist. I will never forgive them for this. Goodbye. That last part was scorched on. That was the gravestone marking the resting spot of my Heracross. I stopped being a trainer after Heracross got sick and died. I came and visited Heracross every month. When this tower was built, I fiercely opposed the radio in Kanto.
Focus blast!
Gengar exclaimed. Before I could act, a blast of energy took out Marowak and Obsidian. I retrieved Obsidian and faced Gengar.
Now, Blake, the Gengar said, to defeat you with the one thing you can't hurt.
Gengar took the guise of a ghost, and revealed behind him was the body of my Heracross. The ghost flew into the corpse of my former Pokemon. The body rose up, and its eyes opened. The eyes were rotting, along with the rest of the body, showing bits of exoskeleton everywhere.
You wouldn't dare hurt your precious Heracross. You can't.
Charizard, use acrobatics, I ordered, cutting him off. Charizard didn't hesitate, even though I knew it wanted to. Charizard mercilessly smashed its tail and limbs into Heracross with an attack with effectively 330 base power. Heracross's corpse splattered into bits with the chunks falling against the far wall. Burn it with flamethrower. Charizard blasted a flame at the remains of my former Heracross, setting it on fire. Gengar popped out and landed next to the corpse.
You remorseless monster!
It said weakly through the man in the corner.
You attacked your beloved Pokemon, showing no mercy, just to kill me. Tell me, how you could do such a thing?
I told you, I'm getting paid for this. Why should I care about the soulless corpse of a Pokemon? I shouldn't. Gengar said.
I'm taking you with me. Explosion!
Gengar flashed and exploded in black flames. The explosion consumed the man, the flaming remains of Heracross, most of the room. But stopped flat before it hit me and Charizard. In front of me was my Quagsire, whose special ability Damp nulled the explosion. Gengar had killed itself for nothing, just to try and take me out. Idiot, I said to voice my thoughts. I retrieved Quagsire and got Marowak on Charizard's back. I got ready to fly away, but Gengar's words rang inside my head. I decided to do something that I should have done a long time ago. Charizard, use Blast Burn. November 4th. Mr. Fuji was watching TV, finally returning to his home. He was watching the story that made international headlines ever since the attack. As you all might know, a horde of ghosts and zombified Pokemon attacked the Lavender radio tower on Halloween before a rescue team made the nearby gym leaders could reach the tower. It was consumed in white flames. After 3.5 days of fighting, the fire consuming the radio tower has finally gone out. Firefighters tried everything to put out the white flames consuming the tower, thought to be unable to burn due to being made of flame-resistant material. Firefighters on the scene claimed that the water they used evaporated before it touched the flames, and the use of mineral dust was useless. Although the fire was catastrophic, it did not spread to any of the buildings nearby. As the firefighting team managed to isolate the flames, even though the Cerulean gym leader Misty attacked the flames with her entire team of water types, the flames did not stop until there was absolutely nothing left to burn. Even though re-entry to Lavender Town was just permitted, large groups of protesters have gathered from around Kanto, Johto, and even other regions have gathered to saying that the tower should be rebuilt as a Pokemon tower, and not as a radio tower, as not to repeat the incident again. Although the radio company says that they are going to rebuild the tower at the same lot in Lavender Town, hundreds of thousands of letters concerning everything death threats to simple complaints have been submitted. The Pokemon League has said that if the tower is to be rebuilt, it must be as a graveyard. They also say that they wish to move the power plant on Route 10 elsewhere. More on this story will be brought to you later. Mr. Fuji was not at all worried by the political squabbles, but instead on the whereabouts of Blake. A knock at the door. Mr. Fuji quickly went to the door. Standing there was Blake and his Charizard Marowak, and Marowak. You're alive, Mr. Fuji said in relief, but his relief quickly turned to worry.
I assume you still want to be paid.
Marowak jumped down and got to Mr. Fuji's side as Blake got on his Charizard and prepared to leave. Nope, he said. Getting to burn that tower to the ground was worth more than anything you could ever give me.